not convincing, and it makes them look worse. That's what she said. And verbatim. And I'm not trying to be biased. Like literally, that's what she said. And I can see that. That's how I also feel. I feel like why are you not with your kids? Why? Where is your downtime? I realize people, often when organizations have something like this happen, and even if they have a successor in mind, if that successor has, maternity leave or whatever, often the COO will step up in the interim and act as the CEO and carry out the mission. They didn't have that here. They immediately handed the reins off to her, and she immediately started doing this campaign and tour. It makes the grieving widow thing have less impact because you have not given any indication that and maybe I'm being cold-hearted here, Zintani, but at least publicly, you haven't given any indication that you are actually a grieving widow, right? And whoever handled that it's on them. But that's a fact. That's the fact of the matter. It's looked disingenuous or insincere at best. Numerous occasions. I'm not convinced, and I wasn't even looking at her with a side eye until I had seen her a few times, and it wasn't really until all of it, and not just her, the TPUSA staff, the production element of all of this, in Arizona, and just all of it, the rally aspect of it. A lot of it didn't have any no somberness to it, no humility, no somberness, especially. Where is the sincerity? I don't get that from them, and I haven't, and a lot of other people haven't either. And their behavior towards people who ask questions, right, who did not make accusations, and the lashing out and just all of it just adds up to sus. And they have created this themselves. They have no one but to blame themselves, and it could have been easily avoidable. And there's been numerous times where they could have pivoted and explained, hey, we just didn't know how to deal with this in the aftermath, but we're gonna try to answer some of your questions now as best we can, and even just tried to talk to the people. That's what Charlie Kirk did. His platform is built on having conversations not with each other, but with people, with the people, we the people. His platform was built on reaching out across the aisle and down into the muck, right, into the peasants, and talking to everyday common people, and they're not doing that, right? They're acting like elitists. They're acting like the establishment, and they are treating people with disdain and vitriol in some cases, and they expect they deserve everything that they're getting in return. They have nobody but themselves to blame. I have zero sympathy for them. Zero. Go ahead, Australian Talks, and we'll go to Casey.
Yeah, man. A super interesting question that came to my mind then is Charlie was willing to talk to all people on the extreme left, right? People who were literally batshit crazy.
I want to do whatever common people do. I want to sleep.
I'm sorry for that. Continue.
Why did you cut it off?
Go ahead, Australian Talks.
I was dancing.
That was a Pulp song. It wasn't too bad. Aside from that, yeah, where were we? Yeah, so Charlie was able to speak with everybody. He was speaking with everybody on the far left in particular. I think he really indulged in that, and it did make for great content. And so those were people with extremely radical views, and they were always considered A-OK to engage in conversation with. Meanwhile, if some guy said, who was also quite influential with the millennial and Zoomers, if he said Hitler is cool, just if he says that, no one's allowed to talk with him. that idea is far beyond the craziest idea even the craziest leftist could pose to Charlie. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it in regards to Candace, I wonder, do Candace's fans presently love her just as much, and are they devoted to her just as much as what Taylor Swift's fans are devoted to Taylor? And then if so, if that's the case, Megyn Kelly has got a bit of a challenge ahead of her. And so I'm wondering, is it more likely that some of Megyn Kelly's audience will head on over in Candace's direction, or is it more likely that some of Candace's audience will get back on the straight and narrow and head towards Megyn Kelly?
I think Candace is, well, I think that the Taylor Swift thing is ridiculous, so I'm not going to talk to that. But well, you bring up a really good point, and I've been trying to explain this to people on the timeline, is that people, Tim Pool, if you're watching conservative talking head numbers go down, or so-called conservative, I don't think Tim Pool's conservative, that's just me. If you're seeing conservative talking head numbers go down, like, Tim Pool, for example, or the Core Green, or Megyn Kelly, any of them, if you're seeing and Charlie Kirk show, if you're seeing their viewership numbers go down, and you're seeing Candace Owens and other truth seekers numbers go up, it is the marketplace is telling you what it wants, even if they don't like each other, the cult members don't, right? They might be bickering on the timeline. There's a lot of moderates or right adjacent. It's all on the right. Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, myself, Tim Pool. They're all on the right, and they're in some independents. And I'm wondering where the left is, but it's whatever. We won't get into that right now. Those are interchangeable audiences. So Candace has been siphoning audience. Well, actually, I wouldn't say siphoning, because that's probably they have been bleeding audience to Candace, because they're pushing the fucking bullshit, and they are selling something that is hard to defend, right? Like it is, and they're doing so based on, instead of having an objective conversation based on evidence, they resort to ad hominem and straw man arguments and various fallacies to try to defend something that is incredibly difficult to defend. And not only are they defending the narrative, they're exhibiting a lack of curiosity into exploring alternatives to the government narrative. So people are going there looking for variety, and they are looking for integrity, and they are looking for honor, and they are not finding it in the former, right? That is why Candace is seeing a surge. It's not necessarily that they're all huge Candace fans. It's just that she's offering them something different, when all of the other, so-called conservative media heads are all selling the same thing, which is government fed slop. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you recall when Nick was on with Tucker, and Tucker asked Nick, how did you even commence on this journey? And he said, well, it was actually Mark Levin. Mark Levin radicalized me. Obviously, Mark Levin took exception to that. He lost his mind about it, but it was a perfect little throwaway line from Nick. And then during Piers Morgan, he said something similar as well. So these guys are setting themselves up to fail, I think, Diligent. There's no way they are going to win over a younger audience any longer. During that conversation, I think Nick said to Piers, 3 books that he would recommend to people. And he threw Bill O'Reilly under the bus. The first book he referenced was Patriots and Pinheads, Bill O'Reilly. And I think the second book he referenced after that was Mein Kampf. I can't recall what the third one was, but there were 3 books. But to link Bill O'Reilly with Mein Kampf, I can imagine Bill O'Reilly was at home and spat out his tea all over the television and threw the book down or whatever it is. because now it's been associated with Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes is recommending that
Well,
book to his people.
They're
brilliant.
changing. They're changing Nick's image, though. I mean, you saw him go on Crowder, right? And Crowder gave him the 3 questions. You know, the gatekeeping questions. You know, are you anti-Semitic? No, I am not. You know, will you kiss the wall? Yes, I will. No, I'm kidding. That wasn't one of them. And then also, you know, do you hate, like, yada, yada, yada. And like, he answered all of those qualifying. My point is that he answered the mainstream qualifying questions. And Nick he was a good boy. And he did what he was supposed to do. And then he's been making the rounds on the mainstream as he, again, is pushing the Fed slot down. So even he, like, it's almost no one's immune. No one's immune. So it's crazy. And I don't have anything against Nick. I'm not a fan of him at all. I read that Cold Cases by Mickey defend him. So I'm going to go there.
Juju, and then I'm going to insert myself and let someone else.
No, I'm actually editing this clip.
You almighty master, Jeremy.
But yeah, I mean, look, people. I'm not here to convince. Thanks for the space or whatever.
Excuse me. Asia's like guy who wants to spaces. Thank you. Thinks he's smart.
Yeah, you ain't lying about Timmy Smollett.
Smollier.
Oh yeah, Timmy Smollett.
Yeah, it is Smollett. I do speak French a little bit, and I speak Creole, so it is Smollett. Look, I already said that there's nothing that Nick couldn't say that would shock me because he covers all of this stuff on the show. So we'll leave that alone for a second. Listening to all the stuff you guys are saying. Did you guys watch real quick? And I don't mean to bring up anything new because I feel like you're trying to end this space. But just real quick question. Did you guys get a chance to check out Candace Owens on Jimmy Dore? No, it's not about me making this about Candace Owens. But did you get a